I'm Andrew Patterson from interest.co.nz and welcome to another in our Business Success series. Today I'm with Richard Reese, General Manager of BankLink.
Hi Andrew, great to have you here today. Thank you.
So Richard, just explain a bit about the business and how you first got established.
Well, in the early 80s, accounting practices were investing heavily in computerising the accounting practice. And the GL was becoming quite, a computerised GL was becoming quite predominant. And there was a number of white papers and quite a bit of discussion within the accounting profession about the need to be able to get electronic data seamlessly into these new accounting packages run on mini computers within accounting practices. And the founding directors, Jones, Malcolm MacDonald, Steve Agnew, started to work on that problem and created BankLink as a proposition for accounting practices about how to streamline the accounting process by receiving electronic data.
Of course, I will remember shortly after graduation, the most tedious part of the job was actually keying statements, bank statements, and of course you can remember that was a part of the business which was very prevalent in the 1980s.
I don't have direct experience, but in talking to Derek in particular, he can tell stories of walking into accounting practices and they literally had rooms full of people, and dare I say it, ladies, who were doing data entry and punching in hundreds of bank statements every month and through the year to create annual accounts and to complete GST when that came in. And obviously that was incredibly efficient and expensive. And actually one of the main issues was that it delayed the accounting process, so people weren't understanding their financial position on a monthly basis, and also their annual results were delayed. So it was very hard to do good business planning under that process.
So 25 years on, since 1986 you established, things have come a long way, and obviously you've got a lot of businesses doing this for themselves. So how is it that you work, and what's the interface that you provide between the client and the accountant?
The fundamental proposition for BankLink is that we have access to well over 100 financial institutions, so that is from the main trading banks through to rural providers who provide services to farmers. Someone like Frontiera, who act effectively as a financial institution for a dairy farmer. We access the data from those financial institutions and aggregate it and process it in such a way that an accountant can receive possibly 1,500 data for 1,500 bank accounts into our software, and our software allows them to efficiently process that data to create management accounts for their clients, so and to complete the GST process, and obviously to contribute towards the completion of annual accounts.
So your focus is primarily in the SME sector?
Yes, it is. Well, in saying that, in particular in New Zealand, we know that BankLink is used by accountants to process and manage the financial reporting for quite large entities, multiple sites and multi-million-dollar turnover. And it really boils down to the relationship that a business owner has with their accountant and about how they want to run their accounting process. And quite often, and we have nearly 500,000 bank accounts on the BankLink service, so there's proof that a lot of businesses choose to outsource the accounting process to their accountant, and that means that the accountant can efficiently process the business's accounts and in a cost-effective manner, and to provide a value-added service to their client.
Security is obviously a major issue for a business like this, where they are sharing data, and recently you issued a statement warning against smaller businesses providing login details for aggregation of data to third parties. So how do you deal with the security issue?
Because we go in through the front door to a bank to us to access data, often that means that they've got to do an IT project, and quite often BankLink funds that, so that's tens of thousands of dollars that we spend on creating a data pipe. That takes time and is quite complex, because banks in particular are quite complex decision-making institutions, and often their priorities aren't about supplying data immediately. There are other ways of accessing data through online banking, which is a mechanism called screen scraping. What that requires is for an account holder to provide their banking credentials to a third party, which is their identity and their log-on details, their password, and then that third party mimics the account holder, accesses the online banking and pulls the data that way. We don't use that process, and we disagree with it because fundamentally we see it as a high-risk proposition. The reason why it is used is that it's quicker and easier to market, and it's also cheaper because you don't have to contract to the bank and you don't have to pay for the data. We prefer to contract to the bank and pay for data because we know that we will get a level of service from the bank. Whereas in screen scraping, any change to the online platform of a bank can break the link and screen scraping won't work. So we believe that we've got a more secure, upfront and really legitimate process to access data.
So obviously this is a very competitive space these days. You've got competition from the likes of Xero, MYOB. So how do you all fit together in the same competitive space?
Yeah, it's interesting. For 25 years, BankLink's understood the power of integrating data into software, because that's fundamentally what we do, into accounting general ledger systems. So yeah, MYOB and Xero and QuickBooks have all identified that it's very powerful to have data seamlessly integrate into their solutions. Obviously there is competition, but we see those systems at the edge of what the BankLink proposition is about, because BankLink's proposition is via the accountant, and it's really about businesses who want to be processed within an accounting practice, whereas MYOB and Xero and others are providing an accounting solution to a small business or a business owner for them to do the accounting process. So we're really working at different ends of the solution. And in the middle, there is some rub points, but competition's good. It makes us sharpen up our game and think about how we do business. But BankLink is continuing to grow. And in New Zealand, Xero's been having a fair crack at the BankLink business for probably 4 years. We continue to achieve our historical growth rates of around 10% per year. And in Australia, we're achieving 15%. So I'd argue that competition is good for BankLink because we're achieving our results.
What would be the biggest challenge in terms of growing this business that you've experienced, say, over the last 5 or 10 years?
Well, technology's changing, and so, historically we went from DOS to Windows. At the moment we're doing a major rewrite into a .NET platform for our main software system, which will enable for us to deliver online services more seamlessly than what we do at the moment. We're taking a different approach, and I guess our biggest challenge is we are looking to deliver a solution which is what we're calling hybrid. So it's delivering a desktop solution that is connected to the online platform or the cloud. And that is a complex solution, but we believe that it is intrinsically more powerful than just going solely on an online route. Beyond that, managing relationships with the banks, because banks are accessing new data sources, is quite a complex and long process. And then really it is just about building our business, and accountants are a long-term relationship and selling proposition. They're a profession that takes a while to persuade to your proposition, and they're very busy and time-poor businesses, so it just takes quite a while to go in, talk to them, sell your proposition and get them to implement it. And we've been in Australia for 20 years now. We have nearly 4,000 accounting practices there, and it has just taken 20 years to build that business.
And now you've just recently started moving into the UK as well. What sort of opportunities do you see the UK providing?
The UK provides huge opportunity for BankLink. We see that as a market significantly larger. It obviously is significantly larger than Australia. We see that the BankLink proposition has a need in the UK market. The same issues that New Zealand and Australian accountants have coped with, that BankLink has resolved via our solution, exists within the UK accounting practice. Our big first hurdle is persuading banks to supply us data. So we've got a two-stage process to setting up a business. And the first one is actually accessing the data, and the second one is then selling that proposition into the accounting practice. So we're still working through that first proposition of getting data out of the banks. We have 2 of the 4 major banks, and we believe we'll have the next 2 major banks in the next 6 to 9 months.
So how far is New Zealand ahead of the curve? We used to hear those horror stories of people taking up to a year or something to get a bank account established in the UK. We have a lot of banking practices we tend to take for granted. So do you find there's a bit of a gap there?
There is actually, to be quite honest. The UK has, it'll be interesting to see the New Zealand market and how it changes with things like the money laundering legislation that's been proposed. Certainly the EU and different data security standards that they have over there makes it a more stringent place to be able to set up a business and to be able to set up a bank account. Yeah, I think New Zealand is more progressive. Our technology, especially that the banks use, is more current. But I think the UK is definitely a more complex place to do business, and being able to set up a bank account, being able to set up a banking relationship. It's certainly something that BankLink's had to do, and we've found it to be quite a involved process.
Have you identified other markets that might interest you in the future?
Yeah, we are. We really want to focus on the UK for the next 12 months. We are looking and assessing other markets overseas, and we've got a number that we believe have potential. We probably won't be looking at another market until we have really got the UK up and running properly, and I'd see that being probably 12 months from now.
And just finally, Richard, where could you see this business 5 or 10 years in the future?
We will be pushing $100 million. We will be in multiple markets, so the UK will be substantially larger than our Australian market. 90% of our revenue or more will be derived, well over 90% will be derived from overseas markets, and hopefully the BankLink brand will be better known and celebrated.
Richard, obviously a business that's growing pretty rapidly and a reflection of how much technology is changing this space. You've got an exciting future ahead of you.
Yes, we do, and I'm really looking forward to the next 2 or 3 years. It's going to be an exciting time for BankLink. Thank you for the opportunity to explain BankLink and have a chat about it today. Thank you.